The language barrier. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Riverside High School, casting golden rectangles across the polished hallway floors. Emma Chen stood before her locker, organizing textbooks with the methodical precision that had become her trademark. Senior year stretched ahead of her like an open highway. College applications already submitted, her future carefully mapped, her days following the comfortable rhythm she'd established over 3 years at this school. She hadn't expected anything to change. The first time she saw him, he was standing in the main office, a blue folder clutched in his hands, his dark eyes taking in everything with a mixture of wonder and uncertainty. Emma had been dropping off permission slips for her mother, who taught AP English down the hall, when she noticed him through the glass partition. There was something in his posture, the way he held himself with quiet dignity despite clearly being out of his element, that made her pause. "That's the new exchange student," whispered Jessica Park, Emma's best friend since freshman year, appearing at her elbow with her usual impeccable timing. "From France, I think? Or maybe Spain. Mrs. Rodriguez seems excited." Emma watched as Mrs. Rodriguez, the school's international student coordinator, gestured animatedly while the boy nodded, his expression serious and attentive. He was tall, with wavy dark hair that fell across his forehead, and wore a simple gray sweater that looked soft even from a distance. "He looks lost," Emma murmured. "Most new students do," Jessica replied pragmatically. "Come on, we'll be late for calculus." But Emma found herself glancing back as they walked away, catching one more glimpse of the boy before the office door swung shut. His name, she learned later that day, was Julien Moreau. He was from Lyon, France, and would be spending the entire academic year at Riverside as part of an exchange program. This information circulated through the school with the usual speed of teenage gossip, though Emma noticed that Julien himself remained somewhat apart from the social whirlwind surrounding his arrival. She saw him again in the library during her free period. Emma had claimed her favorite spot by the windows, where natural light made studying less tedious, and was deep into her French homework when she sensed someone nearby. Looking up, she found Julien standing a respectful distance away, his expression questioning. "Excuse me," he said carefully, his accent wrapping around the English words like silk. "This seat, it is free?" Emma's heart did an unexpected flutter. "Yes, of course. Please." He smiled, a genuine, grateful smile that transformed his entire face, and settled into the chair across from her. For several minutes, they worked in comfortable silence, Emma hyper-aware of his presence, even as she tried to focus on conjugating irregular verbs. It was Julien who broke the silence, leaning forward slightly. "You study French?" Emma looked up, surprised. "Yes, well, trying to. It's complicated." "English also is complicated," he said, and there was a touch of rueful humor in his voice. "Many words sound the same but mean different things. Very confusing." She laughed, and something eased in her chest. French has that too, like dessert and desert. One S or two completely changes everything. Julien's brow furrowed as he worked through this, and Emma found herself charmed by the way his face reflected his thinking process. "Yes," he said finally, "languages are, how do you say, tricky." "Tricky," she confirmed. "That's perfect." They exchanged names then, and Emma found herself offering, almost without thinking, "If you ever need help with English homework, I'd be happy to." His face brightened. "Truly? This would be very kind." "And perhaps," he hesitated, then continued with endearing earnestness, "perhaps I can help you with French? An exchange, yes?" "An exchange," Emma agreed, and felt something shift in her carefully planned senior year. Their tutoring sessions began tentatively, meeting twice a week in the library after school. Emma would arrive with her French textbook and a nervous energy she couldn't quite name, and Julien would be there already, his materials spread neatly across the table, that soft gray sweater replaced by various others, but always with the same understated elegance. The first few sessions were stilted, both of them overly polite, working through worksheets and grammar exercises with academic formality. But gradually, as October painted the trees outside the library windows in shades of amber and crimson, something shifted. It started with laughter, Emma mispronouncing a phrase so badly that Julien couldn't help but chuckle, then immediately apologizing with such concern that she laughed too. After that, the tension dissolved. They began to relax into each other's company, their sessions expanding beyond pure academics into conversation. "Tell me about Lyon," Emma said one afternoon, closing her textbook. "What's it like?" Julien's eyes grew distant, contemplative. "It is beautiful. Very old city, with 2 rivers, the Rhone and the Saône. Many, how do you say, bridges. And the food." He pressed his fingers to his lips in a gesture so quintessentially French that Emma smiled. "The food is magnifique. My mother, she makes the best quenelles. You know this dish?" Emma shook her head, and Julien proceeded to describe it with such passion and detail that she could almost taste the delicate flavors he painted with words. When he spoke about his home, his English became more fluid, less careful, as if emotion carried him past linguistic obstacles. "And you?" he asked. "You have always lived here?" "All my life," Emma said. "Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to live somewhere completely different, to start fresh, where nobody has expectations of who you should be." Julien studied her with those thoughtful dark eyes. "People have expectations of you?" She hadn't meant to reveal so much, but something about him invited honesty. "My mom teaches here. My older sister was valedictorian. There's this path I'm supposed to follow. Good grades, good college, good career, and I want those things, I do. But sometimes I feel like I'm living someone else's life." "This I understand," Julien said softly. "My father, he is professor of literature. He wishes me to be the same. But He paused, searching for words. "I love to build things with my hands. Wood, metal, creating something from nothing. This makes me happy, but it is not respectable?" "Respectable," Emma corrected gently, then added with feeling, "That sounds incredible. Making beautiful things with your own hands, how is that not respectable?" Julien's expression warmed. "You think this?" "I know this," she said firmly. Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary, and Emma felt her pulse quicken. She looked away first, reaching for her water bottle with hands that trembled slightly. As November arrived with its bare branches and early darkness, their meetings increased organically. 3 times a week became 4, then nearly daily. They claimed the same table by the windows, and other students learned to leave it vacant. Jessica teased Emma mercilessly, but there was approval in her friend's knowing looks. "You light up when you talk about him," Jessica observed one morning at Emma's locker. "It's adorable and slightly nauseating." "We're just friends," Emma protested, but even she heard the uncertainty in her voice. "Sure," Jessica said with exaggerated patience. "Friends who stare at each other like the rest of the world has ceased to exist." Emma couldn't deny it. Julien had become the highlight of her days. She found herself thinking about him at odd moments, during calculus, while helping her mother with dinner, late at night when she should have been sleeping. She wondered what he was doing, if he thought about her too, if the connection she felt was mutual or merely wishful thinking. The answer came on a gray November afternoon when rain drummed against the library windows. Emma had arrived early, settling into their usual spot with a thermos of hot chocolate she'd brought from home. When Julien appeared, his hair damp from the rain, his face brightened in a way that made her chest constrict. "You are here early," he said, shedding his jacket. "This is good. I have something for you." He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small package wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. The simplicity of it was somehow more elegant than any elaborate wrapping could have been. "Julien, you didn't have to." "Please," he interrupted softly, "open it." Inside was a journal bound in soft leather, the pages thick and cream-colored. But it was what Julien had done to it that stole her breath. He'd carved a delicate design into the cover, a tree with spreading branches and intricate roots, so detailed and beautiful that Emma traced it with reverent fingers. "You made this?" "Yes," he said, and she heard nervousness in his voice. "You said you like to write, but sometimes the words are difficult. I thought, maybe if you have a special place for them, they will come more easily." Emma looked up at him, this boy who had listened to her rambling thoughts about wanting to write but feeling trapped by perfectionism, who had remembered and created something so personal and thoughtful that tears pricked her eyes. "Julien, this is the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me." His relief was visible. "You like it? Truly?" "I love it," she said, and meant it with her entire heart. They sat close that afternoon, closer than usual, their shoulders nearly touching as they worked. Emma was acutely aware of every small movement he made, every breath, every glance. The rain outside created a cocoon around them, the library emptier than usual, and Emma felt suspended in a moment that seemed to exist outside normal time. "Emma," Julien said quietly, and something in his tone made her look up. "I want to tell you something, but my English is not, I cannot find the right words." "Try," she encouraged. "I'll understand." He took a breath. "In France, before I come here, I think this year will be difficult. New place, new language, everything strange. But then I meet you, and," he gestured helplessly, "you make everything lumineux, bright. You make everything bright." Emma's heart was hammering now. "You make everything bright for me too?" "Yes." His eyes searched hers with such hope that she wanted to close the distance between them, but uncertainty held her back. "Yes," she whispered. Julien reached across the small space separating them and took her hand. His palm was warm, slightly calloused from his woodworking, and his touch sent electricity through her entire body. They sat like that, hands clasped, the journal resting on the table between them, until the library's closing announcement broke the spell. December brought the first snow and a shift in their relationship that was both terrifying and exhilarating. They were no longer just friends, though neither had explicitly defined what they were. Instead, they existed in that liminal space of early connection, tentative and tender, full of possibility. They began taking walks after their study sessions, wandering through the neighborhoods surrounding the school as twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and rose. Julien would tell her stories about his family in Lyon, his younger sister who wanted to be a dancer, his grandmother who made the best tarte tatin in all of France, his best friend back home who was terrible at keeping in touch, but whom he missed desperately. Emma shared her own stories, her complicated relationship with her mother's expectations, her secret dream of writing novels someday, her fear that she wasn't brave enough to pursue what she really wanted. Julien listened with complete attention, never dismissing her concerns, always offering perspective that made her feel understood. "You are brave," he told her one evening as they walked past houses decorated with Christmas lights. "You think you are not, but I see it. You help everyone, your friends, your mother, even me, but you forget to help yourself. This takes courage to change." "How do you see me so clearly?" Emma asked, her breath misting in the cold air. "Perhaps because I am outside," he said thoughtfully. "Sometimes strangers see what those close cannot." "You're not a stranger anymore." "No," he agreed, and his smile was like sunlight. "I am not." The night before winter break, the school held its annual holiday celebration. Emma had never been one for school dances. Too much noise, too many people, too much forced festivity. But when Julien asked if she would go with him, shyly explaining that he wanted to experience an American school dance, she couldn't refuse. She spent far too long getting ready, trying on half her closet before settling on a simple blue dress that Jessica insisted matched her eyes perfectly. When Julien picked her up, her mother had insisted on the formality, much to Emma's embarrassment. He wore dark slacks and a navy sweater, and the look in his eyes when he saw her made every minute of preparation worthwhile. "You are beautiful," he said simply, and she believed him. The dance was exactly as overwhelming as she'd anticipated. Loud music, flashing lights, crowds of students. But with Julien's hand in hers, it felt bearable, even enjoyable. They stayed on the edges mostly, talking and laughing, watching their classmates with mutual amusement. When a slow song began, Julien turned to her with a question in his eyes. Emma nodded, and he led her to the dance floor. His hand settled on her waist, hers on his shoulder, and they swayed together while colored lights spun overhead. "I am glad I came to America," Julien murmured, his face close to hers. "I'm glad you did too," Emma replied, and then, gathering courage she didn't know she possessed, "I'm glad I met you." "Emma," he said, and her name in his accent was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. Would it be okay if She understood what he was asking before he finished. Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind, but she had never been more certain of anything. When his lips met hers, soft and tentative and perfect, the noise of the dance faded away. There was only this moment, this kiss, this boy who had somehow become essential to her happiness. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "I have wanted to do that for a very long time," Julien admitted. "Me too," Emma said. "Me too." Winter break passed in a blur of family obligations and texts with Julien. Emma's family didn't travel for Christmas, which meant 2 weeks of her mother's anxious holiday hosting and her sister's visits home from college, where she proceeded to remind Emma of every academic achievement she needed to replicate. Emma escaped when she could, meeting Julien at the local coffee shop, where they claimed a corner table and talked for hours. Sometimes they worked on language exercises, but mostly they just enjoyed each other's company, their conversations flowing between English and French in an easy mix that felt natural now. "I must tell you something," Julien said one afternoon, his expression serious. "My family, they want me to come home for the spring semester. They miss me, and my father, he worries about my studies." Emma's heart sank. "But you're doing well here, aren't you?" "Yes, but he fears I am distracted." Julien's hand found hers across the table. "He is not wrong. I am distracted, but it is the best distraction of my life." "What did you tell them?" "That I want to stay for the full year, as planned, that I am learning more than just English." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "But Emma, in June, I will have to return. This is always true." The reality of his eventual departure had lurked in the back of Emma's mind since the beginning, but hearing it stated so plainly made it impossible to ignore. 6 more months. Only 6 more months. "I know," she said quietly. "I've known since the start, but knowing doesn't make it easier." "No," he agreed. "It does not." They sat in silence for a moment, both contemplating a future that would inevitably separate them. Then Julien squeezed her hand gently. "But we have now," he said. "We have these months. Let us not waste them worrying about June." Emma nodded, trying to push aside the ache in her chest. "You're right. We have now." January brought routine and a deepening of what they'd begun. Emma and Julien were inseparable at school, though they maintained a respectful discretion that Emma's mother appreciated. They held hands in the hallways, shared lunches in the cafeteria, studied together every afternoon. Emma found herself experiencing the world differently through Julien's eyes. He had a way of noticing beauty in ordinary things, the way ice formed patterns on windows, the architecture of old buildings, the precise shade of sky at sunset. His artist's perspective made her more attentive, more present. "You see so much," she told him one afternoon as they walked through the park near her house, the bare trees stark against a pale winter sky. "Everyone can see," Julien replied. "Most people just do not look." He had brought his sketchbook, and they sat on a cold bench while he drew the landscape in quick, confident strokes. Emma watched his hands move across the paper, mesmerized by his focus and skill. "Will you teach me?" she asked impulsively. "To draw, I mean." Julien looked up, surprised and pleased. "You wish to learn?" "I wish to see the world the way you do." So began impromptu art lessons that supplemented their language exchanges. Julien was a patient teacher, guiding her hand, showing her how to break complex scenes into simple shapes, how to observe light and shadow. Emma was terrible at first, her drawings stiff and awkward, but Julien never laughed or criticized. Instead, he encouraged every small improvement, celebrating her progress with genuine enthusiasm. "You have improved so much," he said one February afternoon, examining her sketch of the library's reading room. "Look, you have captured the feeling of the space, not just the objects." Emma glowed under his praise. With Julien, she felt capable of anything. February also brought Valentine's Day, which Emma had always found somewhat ridiculous, but which Julien took seriously with endearing earnestness. He appeared at her locker that morning with a single red rose. Not from a store, but clearly grown and carefully selected, its petals perfect against the winter morning. "In France, we celebrate love," he said simply. "Today, I celebrate you." Emma's cheeks flushed with pleasure. She'd made him something too. A poem written in French, painstakingly composed with dictionary and grammar book, expressing feelings she didn't yet have the courage to say aloud in any language. They met after school as usual, but instead of the library, Julien led her to an empty art classroom where he'd set up a small picnic on the floor. Bread, cheese, fruit, and sparkling cider in plastic cups. "I cannot give you a proper French meal," he said apologetically. "But this is the best I can do." "It's perfect," Emma assured him, and it was. They sat cross-legged on the floor, sharing food and conversation as afternoon light slanted through the windows. Julien told her about Valentine's Day traditions in France, and Emma described American customs, and they laughed at the similarities and differences. "I have something else for you," Julien said eventually, reaching into his backpack. He pulled out a wooden box, small enough to fit in his palm, with the same intricate carving detail as her journal. "I made this for you." Inside was a delicate wooden pendant on a leather cord, a tiny tree that matched the design on her journal, carved with impossible precision. "Julien," Emma breathed, "how long did this take you?" "Many hours," he admitted, "but time spent thinking of you is never wasted." She held it carefully, overwhelmed by the thought and craftsmanship he'd put into this gift. "Will you put it on me?" He moved behind her, and she felt his fingers at her neck as he fastened the cord, his touch sending shivers down her spine. When she turned to face him, they were very close, and his expression held everything she felt: tenderness, longing, a bittersweet awareness of time passing. "I read your poem," he said softly. "Your French has improved very much." "Did I say it right?" Emma asked nervously. "What I was trying to say?" "You said that being with me feels like coming home, even though we come from different homes. You said I make you want to be braver. You said—" He paused, his eyes never leaving hers. "You said you think you are falling in love with me." Emma's heart raced. "Did I conjugate that correctly?" Julien laughed, a warm, joyful sound. "Yes, Emma, you conjugated perfectly." His hand cupped her cheek. "And I must tell you, I am not falling. I have already fallen, completely. When they kissed this time, it was different from that first one. Emma felt it in every cell of her body. This was what love felt like, frightening and wonderful and absolutely right. March arrived with the first hints of spring, and with it came college acceptance letters. Emma's arrived in a thick envelope from her mother's alma mater, exactly as planned. Full scholarship, honors program, everything she was supposed to want. She should have been thrilled. Instead, she felt trapped. "What is wrong?" Julien asked when she told him, sensing her complicated emotions. They were at their usual table in the library, but Emma couldn't focus on studying. "It's a great school. I should be excited." "But you are not." "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe I am. It's just, everyone's so pleased. My mom, my sister, my teachers, they're all congratulating me, and I keep thinking, did anyone ask what I want?" Julien was quiet for a moment. "What do you want?" The question hung in the air between them. What did she want? Emma had spent so long following the expected path that she'd stopped asking herself. "I want to write," she said finally, the words coming slowly but with increasing certainty. "Really write, not just as a hobby, but seriously. I want to take risks and maybe fail and learn who I am without everyone else's expectations." She looked at Julien. "Being with you has shown me what it's like to be seen for myself, not for who I'm supposed to be, and I want more of that." "Then you must do it," Julien said firmly. "Life is too short to live someone else's dream." "But what about my mom, my scholarship, everyone's expectations?" "What about your expectations for yourself?" he countered gently. "Emma, you are so worried about disappointing others that you disappoint the most important person." His words struck something deep inside her. He was right. She'd spent years trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect student, the perfect everything, and in the process had lost sight of what actually made her happy. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Being scared is okay," Julien said, taking her hand. "Being brave does not mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway." That conversation marked a turning point. Over the next few weeks, Emma began having difficult conversations with her mother about considering different schools with creative writing programs, with her guidance counselor about alternative paths, with herself about what she truly wanted from life. It wasn't easy. There were tears and misunderstandings and moments when Emma wanted to just accept the scholarship and stop causing trouble. But Julien was there through all of it, supporting her, believing in her, reminding her of her own strength. "You are doing something very brave," he told her one evening as they walked through the park, cherry blossoms beginning to bloom overhead. "I am proud of you." "I'm still terrified," Emma admitted. "Good," Julien said. "It means you care. It means it matters." April brought warm weather and a bittersweet awareness that their time together was dwindling. 2 months. Only 2 months left. They didn't talk about it directly, but the knowledge colored everything. They spent every possible moment together, studying in the library, taking long walks, visiting art museums and bookstores, creating memories to sustain them through the separation they both knew was coming. Emma had applied to 3 different schools with strong creative writing programs, and when the acceptance letters arrived, she chose the one that felt right. Not the most prestigious, not the one her mother preferred, but the one that made her heart sing when she imagined herself there. "I did it," she told Julien, showing him the acceptance letter she'd committed to. "I chose what I wanted." His pride in her was evident. "And how does it feel?" "Scary," Emma said honestly, "but also right, really right." "This is how I feel when I work with wood," Julien said. "Scary because I might mess up, but right because it is mine." They celebrated with ice cream from the shop near school, sitting on a bench in the spring sunshine, their fingers intertwined. Emma tried to memorize everything about this moment: the warmth of the sun, the taste of chocolate mint, the feeling of Julien's thumb tracing patterns on her hand. "I wish June would never come," she said quietly. "I know," Julien replied, "but Emma, we have known since the beginning. This does not make it less real." "I know that logically," she said, "but my heart doesn't understand logic." Julien turned to face her fully. "Listen to me. What we have, it is not temporary just because I must leave. The way you have changed me, the courage you have given me, the love I feel, this stays forever. Distance cannot take that away. Promise?" Her voice was small. "I promise," he said solemnly. "You are in my heart, Emma. You stay there always." May was a month of lasts. The last time studying together in the library, the last walk through their favorite park, the last coffee shop visit where they practiced each other's languages, laughing at mistakes they would have been embarrassed by months ago. Emma took hundreds of photos, trying to capture everything. Julien sketched constantly, filling his notebook with drawings of her, of their places, of moments he wanted to preserve. They attended prom together, and this time Emma wasn't overwhelmed by the noise and crowd because Julien was beside her. They danced every dance, holding each other close, existing in their own world while chaos swirled around them. "Thank you," Emma whispered as they swayed to a love song, "for everything, for seeing me, for helping me find myself." "Thank you," Julien replied, "for making this year the best of my life. For teaching me that home is not just a place, it is a person." The end of May brought graduation. Emma sat in her white cap and gown, surrounded by classmates she'd known for years, and felt both nostalgic and ready. Ready for her new school, for her writing dreams, for whatever came next. But first, she had to say goodbye. Julien's last day in America was June 15th. Emma spent every moment she could with him, from sunrise until his flight time. They packed his belongings together, visited all their favorite places one last time, tried to cram months' worth of conversation into hours. At the airport, Emma felt like she might shatter. This was it. After this, everything would be different. "I love you," she told him, not caring who heard. "I love you so much." "And I love you," Julien said, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "This is not goodbye forever, Emma. This is, how do you say, until we meet again." "How will we make it work?" she asked desperately. "Different countries, different time zones, different lives?" "The same way we started," Julien said, "with patience and trust and words. We learned each other's languages. We can learn distance too." He pulled her into his arms, and they stood like that for a long time, holding each other while travelers rushed past. Emma memorized the feeling of his embrace, the scent of his cologne, the sound of his heartbeat against her ear. "You will be wonderful at your new school," Julien murmured into her hair. "You will write beautiful stories and be brave and make me proud." "You'll pursue your woodworking?" Emma asked. "You'll follow your dream?" "Yes," he promised. "You have shown me how. Now I must be brave too." The final boarding call came too soon. They kissed one last time, pouring everything they felt into that moment. Love and gratitude and hope and sorrow all mixed together. "Je t'aime," Emma whispered. "I love you too," Julien replied. "Always." Then he was walking toward security, turning back to wave, his smile both heartbroken and hopeful. Emma watched until she couldn't see him anymore, tears streaming down her face. The first weeks apart were the hardest. Emma threw herself into preparation for college, but everything reminded her of Julien. The journal he'd made her, now filled with stories and poems, the pendant she wore every day, the lessons in seeing beauty he taught her. They texted constantly, adjusting to the time difference, sending photos and voice messages when they couldn't talk live. Emma's French improved dramatically from necessity, and Julien's English became more nuanced. They were learning each other all over again, this time across an ocean. "I miss you," Emma wrote one night. "I miss you too," came his reply. "But Emma, I see you in everything. In every piece of wood I shape, every sunrise, every beautiful thing. You are here with me." August arrived with college orientation. Emma was nervous, terrified even, but also excited. This was her choice, her path. As she unpacked in her dorm room, she placed Julien's journal on her desk where she could see it every day. Her roommate, a cheerful girl named Sarah from California, noticed the pendant Emma wore. "That's gorgeous," Sarah said. "Where'd you get it?" "Someone special made it for me," Emma replied, touching the carved tree. "Someone who taught me to be brave." That first semester was challenging. New classes, new people, new expectations. But Emma discovered she was braver than she thought. She joined the Creative Writing Club, submitted stories to the literary magazine, made friends who valued her for who she was, rather than who she was supposed to be. And through it all, Julien was there. Not physically, but present in every conversation, every video call, every carefully packaged letter that arrived with French stamps. He sent her photos of his work, beautiful furniture pieces, intricate carvings, proof that he was following his own dreams too. "You were right," Emma told him during a late-night video call, both of them stealing time despite the time difference. "Distance can't take away what we have." "See?" Julien's smile was tired but radiant. "We are learning each other still. This is just another language." Their first Christmas apart was bittersweet, but they sent each other gifts that arrived exactly on Christmas morning. Emma had sent him a story she'd written about a French boy who changed an American girl's life, and Julien had sent her a wooden picture frame he'd carved, with a photo of them at prom already inside. "I am saving money," Julien told her on New Year's Eve, their faces close on their laptop screens. "For summer, I will visit you." "Really?" Emma's heart soared. "Really," he confirmed. "I want to see your new school, meet your friends, be part of your new life." "And I want to visit Lyon," Emma said. "Meet your family, see where you grew up, eat your mother's quenelles." "We will make it happen," Julien said firmly. "One visit at a time, one step at a time. We will build a bridge between our worlds." As months passed, Emma discovered something she hadn't expected. Their relationship, though challenged by distance, was also strengthened by it. Every conversation was intentional, every visit precious. They didn't take each other for granted, because they couldn't. She wrote about it in her journal, the leather now soft from constant use. "Love, I've learned, isn't about proximity. It's about presence, being fully there for someone even when you're physically apart. It's about growing together even when you're growing in different places. Julien taught me to be brave, and now distance is teaching me that the bravest thing is to love anyway, to believe anyway, to hope anyway." When summer finally arrived and Emma saw Julien waiting at arrivals, his face breaking into that beautiful smile when he spotted her, she ran to him without caring who was watching. His arms wrapped around her and lifted her off the ground, and Emma felt complete in a way she hadn't in months. "You're here," she breathed. "You're really here." "I am here," he confirmed, setting her down but keeping his arms around her. "And Emma, look at you. You shine." She introduced him to her friends, showed him her campus, took him to all her favorite spots she'd discovered. Julien fit into her new life seamlessly, charming everyone he met, seeing beauty in her college town the way he'd seen beauty everywhere they'd been together. On their last evening before he had to return to France, they sat on a hill overlooking campus, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. "This year has been so hard," Emma said honestly. Missing you every day, wanting to share things and not being able to just call you because of time zones, wondering if we can really do this. But we are doing it, Julien pointed out. Not perfectly, perhaps, but we are trying. We are committed. We are loving each other. This is enough. Is it? Emma asked. What about next year and the year after? When does this get easier? Maybe it does not get easier, Julien said thoughtfully. Maybe we just get stronger. Emma, I do not know our future, but I know that you are worth every difficult moment. You are worth waiting for, worth missing, worth believing in. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, watching the sun disappear below the horizon. I love you, she said. I love you so much, it scares me sometimes. Good, Julien said. Kiss.